Christmas originated as a Christian holiday and is still one, but in many parts of the world, the spiritual aspects of it have been diminished, and instead the holiday is associated with gift-giving, profit, and sales. In this trial, we will examine if this commercialism has gone too far. The prosecution will cite examples that show the growing influence of money on the holiday, and argue that the true meaning and religious nature of it are being eroded. In contrast, the defense will work to refute these claims and prove that the commercialism of the season has not affected Christmas at all. In the end, you will decide who won, as in the court of public opinion, you are the jury. At the end of the trial, click on the info card, the little I button in the upper right-hand corner of the video, to cast your vote. And if you enjoy, please don't forget to like, share, hit the bell icon, and subscribe. With that said, we will begin with the prosecution's opening statement.
Christmas is fundamentally a spiritual holiday, and the tradition of gift-giving came about because the three wise men brought gifts to the baby Jesus. But nowadays, people are so focused on the gifts and purchases that it has all become too commercialized.
Take a look at the numbers, at least reported by Forbes. They think it's going to be a really good year. They say we're going to spend $1 trillion this Christmas, believe it or not. That's $419 per person or per shopper on average. That would be up about 8% compared to last year. Online, of course, a big factor in that. FedEx says they are going to have an all-time record year. They say they will ship 317 million packages between Black Friday and Christmas. That is an increase of about 10%. UPS got an increase as well. They think they're going to be up about 14%.
According to Small Business Trends, this commercialization started in 1880 when department store magnate F.W. Woolworth began selling Christmas ornaments, and from there retailers began to see the holidays as a way of making money. Spending this much takes away from the meaning of Christmas, which is a fundamentally religious and contemplative holiday that has been taken over for profit.
The amount any individual participates financially in Christmas is a choice. There are many Christians who observe both the religious and spiritual aspects of the holiday, along with the material ones. Additionally, there are some Christians who observe only the religious nature of the day. Also, Christmas is celebrated by non-Christians nowadays as well, as the gift-giving season is ingrained into culture. This makes it a secular and national holiday too, and so there are even groups that participate only in the material aspects of the holiday. The point is that any ambient commercialism does not affect the holiday unless by choice. The meaning that anyone assigns to Christmas is not affected by spending and advertising. People can choose to be as spiritual as they want to be. No one is stopping them.
Not true. The commercialism of a society affects all of the individuals within it. It is not isolated as the defense claims because advertising, retail establishments, and social pressures abound in everyone's lives. While giving in to peer pressure to participate in the commercial aspects of the holiday is a choice, it still affects everyone. Also, the jury needs to be aware that researchers have shown that over 1/3 of all people will give in to such pressure if it is strong enough.
So what do you say when it's your turn? Do you say what you believe and go with C? Or go with the group and say line A? When this is done in a laboratory, over 1/3 of people will change their answer to A. The researchers also identified different factors that made it more or less likely that a person would submit to peer pressure. People are more likely to bend to peer pressure when there's a large group of people conforming, or when an entire group is unanimous in their decision.
This type of pressure, if nothing else, can be very uncomfortable, even if one doesn't give into it. Therefore, saying that the commercialism of a society doesn't affect people unless they choose to give in is ignoring the basics of sociology and how people behave.
Choice is absolutely necessary, even if there is peer pressure. This is because, even when convinced of a decision through peer pressure, a choice to give in is still necessary. This means that the population at large has the ability to decide how to participate in the Christmas season, commercially, spiritually, or otherwise. Also, the jury should know that the same study found ways that people within a society resist peer pressure.
But how can you resist peer pressure? Here's a few ways that proved effective in the studies. First, you can have a friend on your side. You're more likely to stick to your answer if you have someone that you trust supporting your answer. Second, you'll feel less pressured when one or more other people aren't conforming to the group. This is true even if the nonconformist is also wrong. If 8 people answer A and 1 person answers B, then you're going to be more comfortable answering C, because hey, at least you're not the only person not saying A. You can't be too crazy. Third, you're less susceptible to peer pressure when you can answer in private. If you're allowed to write down your answer instead of tell the group publicly, then you can publicly confess your support for A, but write down C as your real answer.
When it comes to Christmas, there are many groups who support the spiritual and religious aspects of the holiday. Therefore, the peer pressure is greatly lessened for these groups, as shown by the same study. Going further, the prosecution does not propose any solution to their hypothetical problem. Shall we make commerce illegal on Christmas and outlaw gift giving for everyone just to please some Christians? This hardly seems fair or constitutional.
Objection! This trial is not about any possible solution to the overly commercial aspects of Christmas. Instead, we are only attempting to prove that the holiday is too commercialized.
Sustained. The jury is asked to disregard the defense's last argument. The lack of a solution to a problem does not imply that the problem does not exist.
Thank you, Your Honor. Further, as a rebuttal to the defense's argument about choice and peer pressure, we point out that while it is true that someone must choose whether to give into it or not, the mere fact that this pressure to spend more money on Christmas exists shows how commercial everything has become. Per Justin Rowlands of Odyssey Online, in recent years you may have noticed how early the Christmas music starts playing on the radio and how early malls begin to promote holiday sales. No, you are not dreaming or crazy if you have noticed. In recent years, people seem to not be as excited to spend Christmas with their families. Every year, there are more department stores eager to post their holiday catalogs in September, making it all about the money gimmick and not so much about the consumer. This consumerism is making what should be a peaceful, introspective day into an entire season of stressful shopping, spending, and shameless sales pitches. This not only cheapens the holiday, but makes it an unpleasant experience for everyone involved.
We disagree. Any pressure that a person may feel is internal. Quoting a user from debate.org, who chose to remain anonymous, anyone can choose what to focus on during Christmas. There is fun in purchasing gifts for those who you love, and for those who are in need. One of the problems is that buying gifts is becoming more and more difficult for those who need nothing that you can afford. With so many using the credit card, there is a culture of instantaneous gratification, which does not wait for Christmas to get what one wants. So, Christmas can be too commercial if we see it as what we receive for ourselves. But it is also a time where we can focus on giving to those who have a need. This very comment reinforces the defense's case. It is all about choice.
The prosecution maintains that as Christmas is a Christian holiday, the fact that our society is focused much more on the financial aspects of it rather than the religious aspects, it is, by definition, too commercial. In fact, according to a study conducted in the UK in 2008, less than 3/4 of all children knew that Christmas was a religious holiday, and only 87% of children knew that Jesus was born on the day. These numbers alone show the impact of consumerism on the holiday.
So far, the prosecution has only spoken about Christmas being a completely Christian holiday. The defense argues that a holiday belongs to everyone who celebrates it. and as many non-Christians have adopted the holiday for themselves, we state that Christmas is no longer exclusively Christian. Because Christmas is no longer exclusively Christian, it is impossible for it to have become too commercial, as some celebrate the holiday only for gift-giving and decoration, while others incorporate elements of spirituality and culture. This is why choice is so important.
Objection. The defense is trying to derail the argument without addressing the points we raised. Christmas originated as a Christian holiday, regardless of any current cultural appropriation.
Your Honour, we are not changing the topic of the trial. We are arguing that Christmas not only belongs to the Christians, and therefore we must view the holiday from both a Christian and secular perspective.
Overruled. The defense is allowed to continue their line of reasoning, but we advise them to proceed with caution. We remind the jury that the defense is not allowed to make a separate charge or present any evidence unless it is relevant to rebutting the prosecution's case. Therefore, if this line of reasoning does not tie into the charge, I may strike it from the record.
Thank you, Your Honour. Our claim is that Christmas is now both secular and a religious holiday, determined by the person or family celebrating it. The reason this is relevant is because the prosecution has argued that commercialism hurts the religious and spiritual aspects of the holiday. We disagree with this, but even if it were true, their argument does not include everyone who celebrates Christmas, and for these people, Christmas is not too commercial.
The prosecution will first point out that the basis of the defense's argument is flawed. Christmas is necessarily Christian, no matter who celebrates it now. It originated as a Christian holiday, and therefore it is Christian. This can be clearly seen by any national holiday, and we'll pick the US holiday of Veterans Day. If suddenly some country, say Cuba, began adopting Veterans Day as their own for their military, would we no longer say that Veterans Day is an American holiday? No, we wouldn't. We would say that Cuba adopted Veterans Day and created their own version of it.
If this hypothetical situation occurred, clearly our definition of Veterans Day would change to reflect that the holiday was now shared across two cultures and was no longer exclusively American. Our culture's definition of Christmas has also changed in the same way, to be both secular and Christian.
The prosecution's second point is that if Christmas was not still exclusively Christian, we would expect secular celebrants to come up with their own holiday separate from the Christian one. This has not occurred, and thus the financial aspect of it is still taking over the religious one. Regardless, commercialism is hurting the secular side of the holiday as well. One can see this in how early Christmas advertising and preparations begin. Nowadays, Thanksgiving in the US is taken over by Christmas planning because stores have their best deals of the year either starting on Thanksgiving or beginning the very next day early in the morning. This is a full month before Christmas. In this way, the commercialization of Christmas is even ruining and destroying the enjoyment of Thanksgiving, a completely non-religious and national holiday. This is but one example of how not just Christians are affected by this problem.
The day after Thanksgiving, or Black Friday as it is commonly called, is also optional and requires choice, just as any other aspect of the holiday does. In addition, having the Christmas season start early often allows Christians to display religious symbolism and thus can deepen their spirituality, which contradicts the prosecution's earlier arguments.
Another way that the commercialism of Christmas affects the secular community negatively is that there are expectations put on people to work to earn extra money during the holidays. According to a study done in 2015 by Healthline, a consumer health information group, 62% of respondents described their stress levels as very or somewhat elevated during the holidays, while only 10% reported no stress during the season. A major part of this stress comes from the financial burden alone.
The jury should also know that this study went on to say, among the holiday stresses listed by respondents were the financial demands of the season, negotiating the interpersonal dynamics of family, and maintaining personal health habits. Therefore, the financial strain of the holiday was only part of the stress they felt, and based on this we cannot say that Christmas is too commercial.
There is no holiday that is more commercialized than Christmas. Even individual birthdays, national holidays such as Thanksgiving, and other religious holidays like Easter are not as drained for profit by corporations. The holiday has lost almost all of its religious meaning, as shown by children growing up without ever realizing the religious nature of the holiday, and adults focusing too much on the financials of it. For those who aren't religious, there is still a fair amount of stress and problems that they encounter during Christmas that can be tied directly back to the commercialization of the holiday. In America, Thanksgiving has been taken over by Christmas, and peer pressure to spend beyond your means during the season has cheapened the experience for everyone. Because of these facts, whether you are Christian or not, you must agree that Christmas is far too commercialized. There is no other way to see it.
Choice cannot be disregarded when it comes to any issue that the prosecution has brought up. It is an individual's choice to participate in gift giving or decoration, and how much to spend on either of these. It is a choice to go up to church or educate your children on the religious aspects of the holiday. It is also a choice to skip the holiday altogether. No one is forcing any person to participate, and thus we say that Christmas cannot be too commercialized. All of it is simply part of our culture. Additionally, Christmas is now both a religious holiday as well as a secular one, so pushing a religious message with it is not appropriate for all people. If someone chooses only to partake in the materialistic aspects of the holiday without participating at all in the spiritual or religious aspects of it, again, this all comes down to personal choice. Christmas is not too commercialized because it all depends on choice and perspective. No one forces anyone into spending money, watching advertisements or anything else during the season, and thus the holiday is just fine the way it is.
Now it is your chance to vote on who won. As in the court of public opinion, you are the jury. Use the info button in the upper right-hand corner of the video to cast your vote. Voting will close on March 15th, 2019, and then a verdict will be announced. A 50% vote to convict will be required. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates. And thank you for watching. Also, please consider supporting us on Patreon. The jury is dismissed.